Uh, I appreciate it. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. So, I want to, this is our last session for the day. We have one more keynote presentation tomorrow. Just a couple of housekeeping items. They're probably sick of me saying this stuff, but for all of our panelists, this is day 3 of 3.5. So tomorrow's a half day. You all are a homework assignment. We've created a program where students essentially are consuming all this content, and there's challenges and assignments that corresponding to it to reflect on what they learn, answer some questions, because that's where true education happens. It's not just visiting the campus, reflected experience, right? So they can get up a lot of points for joining this panel, and they should have very good questions as part of that as well. So once again, students, make sure you're knocking that out. The deadline to get any kind of points is tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Lana's going to start grading tonight, so make sure you get those assignments in. Would be one thing. I also want to say before we start to wind down the camp how proud we are of all of our campers. You guys have done an amazing job showing up, consistent attendance, consistent questions, consistent engagement, and we're really proud of you. I think going into this camp, we didn't know if it was going to work. We didn't know if people were going to show up. There's a lot going on in the world right now, and there's a lot of excuses not to invest in yourself or take a step forward in your career, and you guys are not worried about that. You're still doing it. So we're really proud of you on behalf of the Sports Biz Camps team. Let's all do this for the campers. And now I want to stop talking and kick it over to Randall, but I do want to say, Randall, thank you so much for the interest, the inquiry, and for willing to get involved in convening a really great panel. So I'm going to kick it to you. I'm going to go on mute if you want to kind of introduce yourself, introduce the panel. Destiny and our other teammates here, but I think Destiny's going to be your point. There's going to be a lot of questions from the audience, so she's going to be following the Q&A. And maybe every 7 or 10 minutes, just kind of look for Destiny, and she'll bring those to the forefront. And obviously, Scott, Christian, Lana, if you all have questions, feel free to chime in. I'm done.
Cool. Perfect. Pat, really appreciate you. And good evening, everyone. I hope the day has been going well for you. So most of us are actually tuning in from the West Coast. So go Lakers, go Sparks, Dodgers, Rams, Chargers, all that. I feel safe shouting out all of our teams because all of you are muted and can't attack me. So thank you for tuning in to our panel, Finding Your Place in Sports Biz, where we'll touch on 3 important pillars in the industry: legal, tech, and marketing, and with a few of our industry greats. And so, again, I hope you have all had a great camp so far. I know, personally, I've been beyond impressed. I'm taking notes and inspired by the dope speakers, dropping knowledge gems, all over the place. And I know that this panel will do the same. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to our panelists. First, Cameron Weiss, CEO and founder of Dynamic Sports Group. Rashida Gayle, CEO and founder of 26 Marketing Agency. Kate Ferrara, agent and partner at Dream Sports. And lastly, Farren Benjamin, Director of Sports Partnerships at Tagboard. Thank you all for joining me today. So let's kick this off by going around, and I want to give everyone an opportunity to introduce yourself to the participants and describe a little your position a little bit and what exactly it is that you do. And so we'll start with Cameron.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me here. As Randall mentioned, Cameron Weiss, CEO and founder, Dynamic Sports Group. I'm a sports agent, NFL and MLB. I've been in business since 2008. I actually have worked on the team and the representation side, and I was actually lucky enough to represent Randall during his entire career, and now we get to work together. So it's been a true pleasure, full circle kind of thing. And for me, the biggest thing about being an agent is it's a very rewarding profession, and I'm very lucky to have relationships that I got to forge, like with Randall. So, I'm very lucky to do what I do, and I'm glad to be here to share that with you guys.
Cool. Thank you. Appreciate it. Farren, you want to go next?
Yeah. Hey, everybody. I'm Farren. I work at a company called Tagboard right now. So it's a tech company. And essentially what I do is I help bring social media and fans closer to teams, organizations, and venues on game day. So if you've ever been watching TV on ESPN, or you've ever been to a sporting event and you see people's social media and selfies on the video board or on the television screens, that is what I do. So I oversee all of our sports partnerships across the globe. Also have a background in athlete representation and marketing, and also kind of blended that together with tech. So that's just a little bit about me.
Cool. Thank you. Appreciate it. Rashida, you want to take it over?
Yes. Hi, everyone. Thank you guys so much for putting this together. I know everyone is looking forward to all the gems that we're going to, and the knowledge that we'll drop. My name is Rashida Gayle. I'm the CEO and founder of 26 Marketing Agency. It's a newly found company that focuses specifically on athletes, off-field endeavors, but we are expanding into the influencer space as well in esports, because obviously, like, that's where life is headed with this pandemic. So really excited to, offer any insight or knowledge that I can, and excited to speak with everyone.
Cool. Thank you. Appreciate it. Kate?
Yes, hi everyone. I'm Kate Ferrara. I am a sports agent at Dream Sports, certified in NFL and NBA. Also a full-time attorney at Holland and Knight, where I focus on sports and entertainment, finance, and just general corporate law. So my passion is in sports, but like all of you know, athletes are essentially their own companies. And so I think it's important that they have a representation team that treats them as such. And so my partner and I bring our legal backgrounds and pair that with our agency work, and hopefully provide our clients everything that they need both on and off the field.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. So I'm diving into the Q&A right now. We've got some questions that we've got outlined for our panelists, but I also want to make sure, obviously, to fill some of the questions that you guys have. And so the first one is for Cameron. What players have been your clients on the MLB and NBA? And have you learned lessons from being anybody's agent?
Yeah. So, some of the more prominent names that I've represented, I represent Austin Eckler, starting running back for the Chargers. I represent Boston Scott, running back for the Eagles. I swear to only represent running backs, by the way. Represented Randall. In the MLB, we've got a pitcher named Philip Deal, plays for the Rockies. Corey Abbott, one of the top prospects in the Cubs organization, second-round pick. So that's just a few of the names. But, as far as what I've learned from representing athletes is that, and just to dovetail on something that Kate said, actually, is representing an athlete is more than just doing the X's and O's of their contracts. You want to understand every guy's goals, his desires, and like what they want to get out of life, not just out of being a professional athlete. And you want to tailor your representation to help them accomplish those goals. So whether it be just maximizing what they're doing on and off the field while they're playing, to starting businesses, to helping them form their foundations, it's really important to represent each athlete individually and not just apply kind of broad strokes across everyone that you represent. Because when you do that, you kind of lose that personal touch. And when that happens, I feel like you're not giving the individual what they want, and the individual isn't taking out of the relationship what can most further them as a human being. So what I've learned in short is every person is uniquely different, and learning that prior to and during your representation of the athlete is the most important thing.
Nice. Yeah, that makes perfect sense, man. And I could, personally attest to that. As Cameron said, he was my agent when I was playing ball, and that was one of the big deciding factors that kind of led me to him and led me to his agency. And the experience that I had was nothing short of perfect and spectacular. So, Cameron, appreciate you.
Appreciate you, man.
One of the questions that I had, and I know not all of you have noticed, we have three, fantastic women who have joined our panel today, who, kind of have, a big place in three pillars of the sport industry: tech, marketing, and legal. And so, this question kind of goes to you three right now. As women, how can we advance the sports industry with respect to tech, marketing, and legal?
I can start off. It's supporting other women. It's really kind of cheering on the people that work beside you. It's cheering on other women that want to get into the industries, whether it's tech, marketing, legal, whatever it might be. And it's also kind of finding ways to integrate what you do and helping kind of advance that with other women around you. So, not seeing women that are doing the same thing as you are as competitors, but seeing both you guys as kind of breaking grounds in the industry. I'm sure that when Kate, Rashida, and I all started in the industry years ago, it was very similar. We probably all had very similar experiences in that we were kind of only for me, I can speak for me, as I was one of the only people in the room when I started off representing athletes back in the day. I was the only female, and I was surrounded by males. And now it's just so amazing to see other women at the table, bringing law degrees and bringing, their own companies and marketing, and just seeing kind of everybody expand. And so I think one of the biggest things that we can do just alone as women in the industry is just really supporting the other women that are next to you that you may right now see as competitors. They're definitely not your competitors. They're going to be your biggest motivation and your biggest strengths as you try to navigate throughout the industry that is still very dominantly male dominated.
Yeah. Agreed. Kate, you wanna jump in?
Sure. Yeah. I 100% agree with everything Farren just said. Rashida and I actually work together on one of our clients. So, I think we do embody supporting each other. And, to Farren's point, there's a lot of, and everybody on this panel, there's a lot of different areas in sports and in tech and in legal. And there's a ton of athletes. And to piggyback on something that Cameron said earlier, every athlete needs something different. Every athlete isn't for me. Every athlete isn't for Rashida. Every athlete isn't for Farren. And so it's important that male, women, anybody who's working with them really tailor to their needs. And so, I might be good for somebody, and then another female might be more well suited for them for whatever reason. But also, I think it's incredibly important to be a master of your craft. As women, we are still the minority, and I speak for myself, I never wanted to be in a room with men who knew more than me. So I made it a priority to really study the CBA, to go get my law degree, to go get my MBA, so that when I entered a room that, like Farren said, was dominated by men, yes, I might be a female, but within 5 minutes of speaking to me, they're going to understand that I know just as much, if not more than them. So, I think it's important to figure out what it is you want to do and then become an expert at it. And that's how I think women will really make a name for themselves. So it's not just us, kind of walking around and being the fun people to talk to, although we are, which I think is a perk. I think it's also incredibly important that we are well educated and know what we're talking about.
Yeah, agreed. Rashida, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, I definitely want to add. I echo what Farren and Kate said wholeheartedly. I also think, though, you can't leave it all up to the women. The men play a part just as much. And so if we're in a space dominated by all men, it's only right men give women the opportunity to be valued in the space. So I think that's huge. It's one thing for us to give our experiences and talk about what we've had to do, but it could be much easier. It could be much easier if our counterparts, men, or other genders, not, just making it two genders, but whoever's in that seat of power gives women those opportunities, or anyone, frankly. It doesn't have to be gender. It could be race. It could be tall, short, whatever that looks like, actually hiring off skill set, right? I think that's how you really build up this industry to be representative of the hardworking individuals that are in it. So men obviously plays a role in this. And I got my first opportunity based off men hiring me. And I'm super, super thankful for that, because I've been able to make a way for myself and women that are coming behind me who want to bring value and experience as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I definitely agree. It's a tough industry. I think the more that, those who have been placed in position of power, people who have been decision makers and leaders in the industry, it's in everyone's best interest to lift those who want to rise to the top, right? And it's really awesome hearing all of your stories and how you've kind of rose to the position that you're in now. Kay, you mentioned a little something about certain athletes or certain people not being the right fit for either for you or for someone else. We got a question in here. As an agent, do you try to steer away from clients who may not be a good fit for the company? They use the example in Antonio Brown. I'm not going to dive into that exact name, but or do you hire solely off of possible profit?
So every agency is different. our agency in particular, we're very selective. As I tell clients and as we sit down with prospective clients, we work for athletes. Athletes don't work for us. So it's an interview on both sides of the table. So we sit down and the athlete has to be a good fit for us and we have to be a good fit for them. Yeah. There are, Antonio Brown, not to use a name, every athlete honestly has their own personality, their own dreams, their own desires, their own goals. Important to them, what's not. What's important to me, for myself, is that in 10 years, none of the athletes on my roster will be broke. None of them will be in jail. None of them will be uneducated. That's important to me. So if I sit down with an athlete and all they care about is football or basketball, they're not right for me. I don't want to work with athletes who are closed-minded. And that's not to say some of the best athletes in the world are, they make their living just off of being an athlete. But we all know the percentages of people who make it in professional sports. Then take that percentage and how many of those excel outside of their sport. It's rare, but I think it's growing. I think you see athletes getting involved in so many different things, whether it's businesses and it's no longer just car washes, just to use a, stereotypical thing that athletes did 10, 15 years ago. You see athletes starting their own companies. You see athletes investing in tech. You see athletes, name it. It's amazing the influence, power, and the platform that athletes have. And so, yes, for me, it is very important that we sign and work with athletes who, one, care about their perception off the field, because they're a reflection of us, just like we're a reflection of them. I am getting in trouble by the player agency, or I'm out in the media doing all kinds of craziness. If I was representing Randall, for example, I wouldn't be proud to say, oh yeah, Kate's my agent. And I think it goes both ways. So yes, for me and my partner, that we both take it very seriously and only represent athletes who are a good fit for us.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. The relationship is so huge. And I know all of us being in the sports industry, I think we all understand that, relationships is really at the forefront. Rashida, in a recent podcast you were featured in, you stated that relationships are the most important component in your sector of this industry. Can you talk more about that and what experiences led to that realization?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm just going to keep it 100 with you guys.
Please do.
College is great. I love college. I really enjoyed the experience there. But what I got my degree in has nothing to do with what I actually do, which is working sports. I was a double major in women's studies and political science. So I say that to say, especially on the talent representation side, a lot of the opportunities I got was based off the relationships that I had. And I mean, I saw this starter kit on Reddit the other day, and it was like people coming out of college starter kit, like applying on LinkedIn, applying on, Indeed, and working at Starbucks, like trying to figure it out. And that's a reality for so many college graduates. But I can guarantee you, if you get to know individuals in high places who can speak for you, who can sponsor you, who can make a call, send a recommendation, etc., you really, really improve your chances of getting a job. And it doesn't matter what industry you're in. So I really, really recommend making connections. Like, I know it's super awkward to go to a networking event and start a conversation from scratch. It's something that I've had to learn and get adjusted with. But on the talent representation side, speaking specifically to my job and my industry, I know that I would not be here today without relationships. And I could never say only hard work gets me there. It's not just hard work. It's not just skill set. It has to do with who I know as well.
Yeah.
And I grew up, like, I didn't grow up with football players. So it's not like, oh, my cousin turned pro, or like, I have a family member turned pro. No, I got it straight from the bottom. Like, I had to build relationships from scratch. It is absolutely possible.
Yeah, that's really cool. Really, really inspiring to hear. And since you and I met, I've been, following your journey and following your path, and things that you've been building it's truly remarkable. And I hope that everyone tunes in, because Rashida Gayle is going to be definitely going to be a name in lights. So be on the lookout for that. And so, yeah, absolutely. Talking about, relationships and kind of building your way up from the bottom, right? Cameron, this question, directed to you. How did you get into the sports industry, and more importantly, why did you stay?
So there's kind of two answers to that. So my first job was on the team side. I worked for the Los Angeles Dodgers for 2 seasons. And, originally that had kind of been my goal, is I wanted to be the general manager of a team. And it's not like you go in and you sign up and put in an application as a college graduate to, get direct experience from someone who's going to have that sort of, high level job decision-making authority. You come in and take any job you can. So I started off selling season tickets for the Los Angeles Dodgers. I tried to do the best I could to make a name for myself and put myself on the map. And as Rashida mentioned, relationships are everything. So what was I doing while I was selling season tickets? I was being a pest, and I was hanging around baseball operation guys, and I was trying to take them out for drinks. I don't know if that's PC to say, but I was just trying to, as much as I could, make myself a trusted individual near them, so that when that job did open up, I could be considered for that. After that, doing that for a couple of years, I decided I wanted to go back and get my law degree, much like Kate. And kind of the light bulb went off. I wanted to be on the representation side. I wanted to, be able to make my own team, so to speak. And I took an unpaid internship, and it doesn't sound glorious, but I literally waited for the first sports agent to take my call. I got on the phone with him, and I was like, listen, man, you're going to hire me. I'm going to work for free. I'm going to put in all the time, and it's going to be the best decision you ever made. And he was like, okay, well, when you put it that way, how am I going to say no to that, So I worked for this guy for 2.5 years, and I learned as much as I could. And when I got out of law school, better lucky than good is something that, I has rung true with me in my life. I went all in. I was like, I'm going to do this for 1 year. And if I can make it to year 2, I'm going to do it again year 2. If I can do it year 2, I'm going to do it again year 3. And I think right now the average agent holds his license for about three league seasons. So I was blessed and lucky enough that, I happened to get good clients who stuck around and were profit earning for my company. And after year 3, I didn't have to have that dilemma anymore. Like, if I'm going all in again, see if I can double up for year 4. So it really is about relationships to start, for sure. And once you kind of get that runway and you can sort of take off, then is when you got to just put your head down and grind, because there are people out there that have better relationships, that have more knowledge, that can do this, can accomplish more with less effort. And the only way you can even get on their playing field is trying to outwork them.
Yeah, got you. That makes perfect sense, man. So if I'm hearing you correctly, man, like the real, perseverance, the hard work, and the persistence is really what kind of gets you ahead in the game. And, I know a lot of people.
And being willing to make mistakes too. You're not going to, you're only going to learn from your mistakes. Your successes sometimes teach you bad habits, but when you make mistakes, you know how to correct it, and you can get back on the right track. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Randall.
No, by all means. That makes perfect sense. Obviously, this whole camp is based around, the business side of sports, but a lot of us, in our adolescence, we played sports, and that kind of rang true in that as well. So I think we can kind of agree that everything that, surrounds sports, everything in the sports industry, whether you're an athlete, whether you're on the business side, an agent, it's that persistence and it's that hard work that's really going to propel you to the next level. Appreciate that. We've been talking a lot about athlete representation with Cam, Kate, and Rashida. Farren, I didn't want to leave you out. You being on the, kind of like you service, professional teams and the league as a whole. You being in the tech industry, which is so huge, and we're really seeing the intersect between sports and tech, and it's truly remarkable. What effect would you say technology has made on the sports industry?
I think technology has made not only information more readily available, but it has allowed companies to really innovate in a very new way. So before the rise, and let's even just go TikTok recently, we're used to seeing just photos on Instagram and videos, and we're used to seeing tweets and stuff. Now we're able to see people and athletes and team express themselves with their creativity when it comes to teams that are doing TikTok videos, like kind of very similar to how Vine was back in the day. Is not not only are we now putting out a schedule by saying, hey teams, here's who we're playing week 1 through 10. We're now seeing teams produce digital videos. We're now seeing athletes, put logos on basketballs and shoot them in hoops and putting together a mesh, collage of these videos. So I think, with technology advancing and with all social media companies always looking for the next biggest thing, first it's text, and then it's text and photos. Now it's text, photos, and videos. And you throw GIFs in there. It just kind of allows our industry to communicate in a lot different ways. So as someone who works in tech, I have to kind of keep in mind all of these things that can contribute to a team that I work with being successful. So if a team comes to me and is like, hey, Farren, we're looking to figure out a way to get our fans at home more involved in our game day experience, I have to take into consideration, okay, where are the fans going? As fans, we probably don't just sit in front of a television anymore and watch a live sporting event without our phones. For me, if I'm ever home on a Sunday and not traveling with NFL games, I usually have my phone because I want to see what type of reactions are going on after someone catches a touchdown, or I want to see what other things are going on while other people are watching games. And so we're very used to having that second screen experience. So a lot of what technology has provided is kind of a lot more innovation and a lot more ways to do common things. So, if you're trying to get a hold of season ticket holders, in the past, it's like, okay, send them an email. Nope. Now there's about 10 different ways that you can get a hold of season ticket holders. You can hold private events. You can host unique giveaways and sweepstakes and stuff. So technology has really just kind of made the ability for teams to grow and for teams to kind of bring in unique people with a ton of different backgrounds. I work with graphic designers. I work with engineers. I work with product designers. I work with client success managers. And so I work with all these people from totally different backgrounds, but we all service and produce the same product at the end of the day. So it's been really unique to see. And I'm sure Rashida and Kate have seen the other end of it and having athletes create a lot of content as well. So I'm kind of seeing the end result and how I get that and out to the masses. And I'm sure others on this panel are kind of seeing the production side a little bit more.
Got you. Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Yeah, it's really been cool. A lot of you guys don't know, but Farren and I went to school together at USC. Fight on, better than UCLA. Anyway, it's really been cool to kind of see your rise in the tech space. And kind of how, getting your start at Twitter, a fantastic company, and where you are now being the director of partnerships at Tagboard. It's a really dope intersection. Tech kind of seems like a gold rush, and I really encourage a lot of people, especially a lot of the youth, technology really being, our language to explore an opportunity in tech. There's a lot of great things, a lot of great opportunities, and for a lot of people, that intersection of tech and sports is where a lot of people really want to reside. And so, Farren, really appreciate you for saying that. And so, there's been a couple of questions in the Q&A box that kind of center around common misconceptions. And so, I know personally, growing up, especially when I was in high school, watching movies about sports agents. And, having an understanding, especially when I got to college, having an understanding that agents were like these sleazy sharks that just wanted to take advantage of you and take all your money and all that, nonsense. But, as I got older, I realized that was
someone needed to watch Jerry Maguire, by the way.
Yeah, man. I mean, that was one of them. That was one of those movies, you know what I mean? And it's funny, when I started playing ball, my dad was like, you're going to sit down, you're going to watch this movie. And I was like, sure thing. Yeah, I got you. But now we're starting to see that it's a huge misconception, right? And so, this question is directed to Cameron and Kate. What are some common misconceptions that people have about agents and agencies? And, how can we combat those misconceptions and communicate more effectively?
Well, you go ahead first, Kate.
Sure. So, the misconceptions are probably, but I think one of the things, and for those on the call who are maybe considering being a sports agent, the biggest misconception, and Cameron's been doing this longer than I have, but we don't make millions of dollars. I mean, hopefully one day, I don't know, but off from the beginning, being a sports agent is very, very expensive. There is a lot of upfront costs, and it's not as though we make a windfall, right? So everyone sees these huge deals and so-and-so just made $10 million, his agent is rich. No, we get paid when the player gets paid. So if the player doesn't get paid, we don't get paid. So for example, this year, all of us on this call, we put a lot of money into the athletes we recruited this year. And some have signed their rookie contracts, some have not. Those that have, yes, we get paid off their signing bonus, but if the season doesn't start or they don't get paid, we don't get paid. So I think that's a very large misconception. And I think, my partner and I, the reason we stay small, well, one of the reasons we stay on the smaller side is because, one, we want to, make sure our athletes are receiving the amount of attention that they need, but also, and piggybacking on the comment earlier about, do we only go after players who are going to make a lot of money? No. And so it requires a lot of individual attention, but it also requires a lot of upfront money. And I do think, everyone should watch Jerry Maguire. They are considering being a sports agent. One of our clients, the Patriots, he trains here in LA, and when he's here, he stays at our house. So that is very real life. So, relationships are really important. And I think the misconception of we steal from clients is not true. We're big supporters of not handling their finances. As my partner always says, it's more important who your financial advisor is than your agent, because they are the people who are looking after your money. We don't really do that. I don't know how much money my clients have. I know what their NFL contracts are worth, and I know what endorsement deals are worth, but I have no idea what their bank accounts look like, and I don't think I should. So there are a lot of checks and balances that are now in place. So the misconception of us stealing money, one, I don't have the ability to. I don't have access to their money, so I couldn't if I wanted to. And two, it's just not the case. So I think you see more people, and kind of as Cameron mentioned, you find agents who genuinely care about their clients, who look after their clients, who want them to get into good business deals, and who really want to see our players succeed. It's no longer as important to have, the number one draft pick. It's more important to have the people who are making a difference in the community and in their culture, and, really having an impact on and off the field. So hopefully that answered some of those.
Well, and I would just add to that, I've been involved in a lot of the program in the last 3 days, and like the common theme, which I'm sure you guys are going to get to, is like, it's about relationships. And if you treat people like what, then everyone knows that you treat people like what, and you're not going to have any more clients. So yeah, I think those movies and stereotypes and all that stuff, once you meet real people and understand it, like, you're not going to have a long tenured career if you don't treat people the appropriate way. Just like if you aren't a nice person, you're not going to have a lot of friends. It kind of goes the same way.
Yeah, you can read about those people. Google their names. It's not easy to stay discreet for long if you're doing surreptitious things by your clients.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as like on my end, I think something that I've heard a lot over my 10 years doing this now is there's a common conception that all agents are the same. Everyone's going to do the same thing. It doesn't matter. It's all about how good I am as a player. Like, that could not be further from the truth. There is a lot of similarities to the things that some agents do. Like the things that Kate and I do for our clients, for sure, there are some concentric circles there. But every agency that I've ever been a part of or been around is so much different. And finding out what the unique value proposition is for each agency, to me, is what defines them. It's what's going to define your relationship with them. So really understanding like what an agent is about, what his agency stands for, what they offer for their services, there's high factor of differentiation there. So when I hear that in the meeting, and I hear that every year, multiple times a year, I'm immediately like, hey, I want to teach people like why that's not true. The other thing is just, we talked earlier about, what the different things that you can do for an athlete, the business of an athlete. Common misconception is my agent handles my contract. That is such a small part of what I do day in and day out. Randall can attest to that. That is maybe 10% of my total responsibility. Because think about it. A guy's contract negotiation only comes up every so often, like you've got, like, for instance, we just did Austin Eckler's contract this offseason. That was my first contract negotiation for him since 2017. So what did I do? I just like kind of lay down in the cut for 3 years and then popped back up when it was time to renegotiate. Like that's not being an agent, So I think it's really important to just understand like what the daily part of being an agent means and what value you're bringing to your clients on a daily basis. So those are my things. And I have to give a shout out on the Jerry Maguire topic. I saw Kieran posted a quote that said, "Help me help you." I get asked about that movie all the time. And I'm like, there is one quote that I take from that movie, and that is, "Help me help you." Because I feel like sometimes, I'm sure I'm sure Farren's experienced this. I'm sure Rashida has experienced this. I'm sure Kate has experienced this. Sometimes you want to give the best, most selfless, like it makes sense on all level advice to your clients, and they're not trying to hear it. So you have to find creative ways to try and present information sometimes. But you can only do as much as your clients are willing to empower you to do. So I think that's also very important to know.
Yeah. That's huge. It's really important. Kate, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, just to, kind of go off of what Cameron just said there, when we hear the same thing about athletes saying, it doesn't matter what agency we go with, it's going to be the same. I think it's important that that is, in my opinion, Cameron, you correct me if I'm wrong, it's close to true on the contract. On your football contract, it's close to true. There are very few contracts where we have really negotiating power. We can get them a good deal based off of guaranteed money and things like that, but the window is like this big on what we can actually negotiate over. So that part is more so true, but Cameron's point, it is so important to realize that an agent is not just doing your football contract, and just really paying attention to what they're about, and what they really do offer you off the field, because that will be, like Cameron said, 99.9% of what they will do for you. So, and Randall, as a former player, I'm sure you can attest to that. So I do think that, that is important. And to the, why I think players need to branch out a little bit and really research the agency before they sign. It's not just they're a big name, or they had so-and-so, or they did this. Find out what your agency does and find out what you want. Everyone's different. Find out what works for you. And then maybe we will see, clients sticking with agents longer. So, it's important to do that kind of work up front, both on the agent and the player side.
Yeah, no question. And to that, I remember when I was playing ball, we had a lot of guys who, fantastic athletes, but they, kind of bought into those misconceptions, and, they were firing their agents right and left. And I'm like, man, like, how are you having this bad of an experience with your agent? Mine's awesome. Like, I can give you his number. Like, he's great. You know what I mean? But, Kate, like you hit it on the head. Do the research to find out what that agency and that agent is about. Because at the end of the day, you kind of want to align yourself with, the athlete, especially. The athletes want to align themselves with the agent who have similar values,
Randall, can I interject on something real quick? I saw a question pop up that I think it's important to answer. And it was about, someone asked about Richard Sherman, how he doesn't have an agent. Mm-hmm. So I think that's something that's happening right now. It's very important to point out, and it really dovetails on everything that Kate and I have been talking about here, which is that Richard Sherman doesn't have an agent for his contract negotiations. He's a very bright individual. He's obviously a Stanford guy. I don't think he's done the greatest job per se on his contracts, but he feels like he knows the market well enough to negotiate that. But where does the value come in from being an agent? Like we just talked about, it doesn't start and stop with just the contract. So for Richard Sherman not to use an agent for his contract negotiation, I promise you he is not an island. He might be Sherman Island on the field, but off the field, he definitely has a team of people who are bringing him opportunities, whether it be in the marketing space or the legal space or, whatever other part of his business ventures that he has.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. We had a question pop up that I think would be really cool to tackle right now with Rashida and Farren. So someone asked, can you make YouTube videos while being a college athlete, or you be declared ineligible? And I know that when it comes to athletes branding themselves at the college level, at the next level, it's obviously huge. And that's something that, that's kind of been in conversation for a while, because a lot of these guys, all these, men and women are realizing that their personal brand is monumental to the trajectory of, their career and how much money they can make. And, I personally understand that branding is huge, you know what I mean? And that's something that Cameron really, harped upon me, when I was playing in the NFL. And so, Rashida and Farren, I kind of want to, kind of dovetail and talk a little bit about branding and kind of the space that you guys are in, and how important that is, and especially with tech, and Rashida, with you representing these athletes and their branding. So just talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I mean, I think this is about to, whatever I say now specific to the current situation that we're in, is about to change in 2021 when name, image, and likeness becomes a real thing for a lot of college athletes. Obviously, there was a situation, I think it was USF or UCF, where a student athlete had filmed all these dope YouTube videos and was getting paid from YouTube, and the NCAA suspended him because he was making money. So that has been something that has been an issue within college sports, that, I think it's athletes just not being able to be individual brands, and that's not fair. Sorry for my Slack thing going off, y'all, but yeah, that's not fair. Now we're getting into this open space of name, image, and likeness, and there are a lot of things that still needs to be worked out. I know that many conferences are lobbying for different rules at the federal level, so we're going to see how that plays out. But a lot of people don't notice, but if you are in high school and you start creating your own content and you get popular off that, going into college, you have more of a fight with the NCAA if you are earning money, because you began building your brand before you were in college. So you're not dependent on the school's logo or the school's image, etc. So a lot of people don't know that. But I think even still, now going into the name, image, and likeness space, a lot of athletes will be able to not necessarily just monetize their brand, but they'll be able to be individuals and create something outside of their sport.
Nice. Farren, you wanna jump on that?
Yeah, no, I agree with a lot of what she said. It's more so and the way that I see it is, if you have a talent and you can discover it, like what she was mentioning, the UCF punter, and if you have a talent and it's football and it is also video editing, don't necessarily not pursue that. You really never know where your talents are going to take you. Football can only take you so far. Your video editing can take you maybe farther, or maybe it's whatever it has to do with your creativity. So it's always, there's always going to be, ways that you have to really understand how you can make both work without, kind of interfering and shutting down one dream while pursuing another. But I'm one to attest that you can definitely pursue two passions at once. I've done it for 8 years now. I've pursued athlete representation, and I pursued working in tech. And so it's something that can be done. And I just think as more athletes are starting to work a lot closer with video editing folks and people that are helping make these very creative videos and YouTube and TikTok and whatnot, it's getting their minds to be a lot more creative and kind of what they can do on their end. So definitely don't shut down a passion just because the NCAA says that you can't. There's always people that you can talk to figure out ways to work around if it is something that you're very interested in pursuing, because the more unique people that we can get sharing content around the world, whether it's sports related or entertainment related or cooking and housekeeping, whatever it might be, the better we all are off.
Yeah, agreed, definitely. Jumping into the Q&A, we talked a lot about the importance of networking, relationship building, internships, and working hard, and to propel you to the next level, in the sports industry. We got a question here. What courses or majors should I take to become a sports agent? I know that a lot of schools, a lot of universities are starting to incorporate some more courses like that can kind of educate some of these kids on how to take the right path to get to the places that you guys are in now. So I know, Rashida, you said that you didn't really take a lot of those courses. You majored in something completely different, but you're still able to find a path for yourself. But for the times that you guys were in college and the things that you do know now, how would you mention that some courses and things that people can take to become agents or sports professionals?
I can't speak for agents, but I think I can speak for other industries when I say don't just get a sports management degree. Like, everybody wants to work in sports and everyone is a fan of sports. But I think the most successful people in sports are people who bring other skill sets to the table. So if you're into graphic design, if you're into finance, like, you know, numbers, like, making sure that you dive into your passion and then finding a way for it to be applied to sports is where you'll find your most success. Because a lot of people come and say, oh my gosh, I'm such a big fan of this player or this team, and they're just dying to work in sports, but they don't have anything to add. They have no value. They have no skill set that they can really bring and change the game. And the agency's already set up. The team's already set up. Like, everything's already up and running. So how are you going to bring something that will be valuable? If you cannot answer that question, it's going to be really tough for you to make it in sports. So just make sure that not only are you building a good, like, valuable skill set, but you're being innovative. You're watching the times. Like, who would have thought photographers and videographers would be following your Antonio Brown's around or your Cam Newton around? He's doing such a good job right now on social media. So there are positions for people who can bring different skill sets to the table, and I think they are the most successful in sports.
Yeah, agreed.
Nailed that. That's, I mean, I feel the exact same way. Like, if you can't bring something different to the table, then why expand my team to include you? You know, and I'm sure I get, I'm all four of us here. I get emails with applications on them all the time, resumes all the time. And the first thing they say is, I'm a huge fan. I'm like, you know, welcome to the club. There's tens of millions of fans in the country. You know, like, that doesn't uniquely qualify you to represent athletes. So I'm always looking for something that's completely outside the box. You know, if you can do something that I cannot do, or that, even better, I haven't conceptualized doing, then that's something that I want to talk about. I know on my end.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree. You know, you're like starting to see, especially with the, you know, with how big the tech industry is getting. There's so many things, you know, in the sports industry where you can have a substantial impact, and, you know, all of you hit it right on the head. And I think that's what's important about this panel, especially, is that, you know, everyone's got, to a certain degree, who's here today, a passion in sports, right? So, but what's going to set you apart from the rest of the pack? You know, like, you know, Farren said, maybe you're good at video editing, maybe you're good at photography, maybe you're good at numbers. You know what I mean? I think if you really hone in on that, and then, you know, create and package yourself to be an asset to a company or building your own company, I think that's the difference between being a pretender and a contender, you know? And so this is with the topic of esports, right? That's been huge, you know, recently. You're seeing esports athletes. I think they're called athletes.
Yes, they do.
Okay, good. I don't want to offend or disrespect anybody. They're making it a huge rise, and there's a lot of money to be made. And so, a question here: do you believe esports athletes are going to need agents in the same way as sports agents? You know, that's a question that I've had, and I've kind of seen it. You know, some of my friends who have taken a dive into the esports industry. So, you know, if any of you guys got anything to say about that, please feel free.
80% of esports athletes are unrepresented right now. Most of them will not be ever represented because a lot of them are, you know, minors. A lot of them are grassroots, just, you know, playing out of their, you know, mom's basement, and maybe aren't set up to get to that next level. But there is, you know, a cream of the crop there. As we all know, anyone who follows esports, anyone who follows streaming knows about Ninja. Ninja made almost $100 million last year. Like, that's insane. How many other athletes can say that? So there definitely is going to be a growing need for representation there. And I think more than anything, there's just a need to, like, help people elevate their platform and elevate exposure, because there's a lot of people out there that are great at what they do in the esports realm, but might not know how to take that to the next level. And what better person to do that than an agent or marketing team? Yeah,
absolutely. Did you guys have anything to add to that? Yeah, no. You know, Cameron, you hit it on the head. You know, it's going to be really interesting, you know, especially when it comes to esports, how new it is, kind of to see the trajectory of it and where it is now and where it's going to be next year or even in 5 years. You know, will it eclipse some actual physical sports? I don't know, you know what I mean? But just like you said, that guy Ninja making that much money, you know, doing what he does, I think it's truly remarkable. And that can kind of just go back to what we just talked about and finding a passion in something else. And, you know, a lot of people who, you know, are really passionate about video games, but they think that it kind of just stops there, like playing in their room or playing at home. If there's an opportunity for you to get into that, if video games is your passion, that might be your in to the sports industry, you know? You know, I know we're kind of getting close on time. And so I really want to, this is a question that I've kind of been dying to ask. This is my own personal one. And so this kind of goes for everyone. What's the question that you're most tired of hearing? And what would you like to say this so that you never have to answer it again? You know, especially, you know, for agents, the question is like, oh, how much, like Kate said, how much money do you make? Or do you know Juju Smith-Schuster or Tom Brady? You know, what's a question that you get all the time that you kind of like roll your eyes to? And, you know, I mean, I want to give you guys an opportunity to answer that and kind of just nip it in the bud right here.
Can I get tickets? I'm sure you heard that one a lot too, Randall.
Yeah, for sure. That's hilarious.
I get asked if I can take people backstage or on the field. Usually when I go on site for a tech activation, I'm either in a control room or a press box or on the field, getting high-res photos of our activations live. And I get people that ask, can I get them a badge? No, I can't.
I would hop in and say, so I don't like when people don't do their research. So if we're doing this panel and it's recorded and you can go watch it later, if you can read an article or listen to a podcast, like if you don't do that and you message me or you DM me and you ask me the same question that I've already answered a million times, like, how did you get in sports? I'm not going to throw shade to anybody watching this, but a million of you guys asked that question in the chat. How did you get in sports? How did you get in sports? Like, I know, I understand that like you want to hear everybody's story individually and just see like who you connect with, but I'm sure I can speak for everyone. We all get that question. And if you just do your research, you will find that information online. So I think just being smart with your questions, like find a question that you know they haven't answered, whoever you're reaching out to, so that when they get it, they feel like it's worth their time to answer it, because we're all very busy, but we all want to give back and give back something of value and not be repetitive in our answers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I heard a really, on that topic, Rashida, I heard a really good quote that I think our students should remember. Research is respect.
I love that. That's great.
Sorry, Kate.
Yeah.
Oh, no. I was just going to say, and this might not be the most PC question to bring to the attention, given the panel.
High school kids.
No, not that. The question that irritates me the most is verbatim, what's it like being a female agent? I would love for someone to just ask me, what's it like being a football agent? I would love for the female to be taken out of the initial question. And this, this could be specific to me. I know, and it's not to take away from the fact that, yes, I am a female agent. Yes, I love supporting other women. I am all for all of that. But to Rashida's point, make it a thoughtful question. I mean, what do you really want to know about being a female agent? Ask a specific question. I mean, my answer is always, it's great being a football agent. I mean, so I think, and back to your question originally, Randall, like, how do we change the narrative? We change the narrative by making it normal, by making it not, oh my God, this is a female agent. She's a specimen. Let's pick her brain. Like, no, ask me about what it's like being an agent. And then in the discussion, maybe ask a question, something like, as a female, you might have to do X different. How have you handled that? That to me is a more thought-provoking question than what's it like being a female agent. So that's just me.
Yeah. That makes perfect sense. And that can kind of go, across multiple sectors of the industry. Obviously doing your research and getting specific about what you really want to know. You know what I mean? Because asking, what's it like to be an agent? There's full courses in college that can talk about that. And that's a big question, So like, you kind of like really hone in on what you really want to know, like what are the challenges? What courses do I need to take? Who do I need to speak to? What internship should I, look for? Those are the questions that you guys have to be sure to ask, and the things that you got to be sure to do, to really get clear on where you want to go and who you want to be, and again, I know we're getting close on time, but I wanted to give the panelists an opportunity to ask one of the other panelists a question, something that you might want to hear. All of you being from different industries, of course, you got your curiosities, so I want to give you guys the floor to ask each other a question.
Randall, can we ask you a question?
Yes, I love this. I'm part of it.
Okay, so since we're all talking about, off the field, and I'm for this in the week, I would like to know, as an agent, what has your life been like post-football, and what are the most important takeaways you took from being an athlete that you have now transitioned into your professional career?
Yeah. Great question. So post-football, post-sports, really, it's, for a lot of athletes, it can be really daunting, because when you're in sports, when you're an athlete, you spend so much time and you're so myopically focused on your craft, on getting better, on winning games, taking care of your body, taking care of your nutrition, your physical health. And that kind of becomes who you are, right? And you develop it, and you take pride in it. And, when you go out, you introduce yourself as, hi, I'm Randall, the football player. You don't actually say that, but you kind of get that, what I mean? That's the energy that you give off. And so when you get done playing, you kind of, sit there and scratch your head and think like, man, like, okay, I don't have this anymore. So who am I? You know what I mean? And that's a journey in and of itself. And that's something that I can really, speak on, just speaking with a lot of athletes, former athletes. It's a journey, getting out of the game. I heard a quote, one of my buddies who is a former athlete. He said, you walk 8 miles in, you got to walk 8 miles out. That walking 8 miles in is the hard work. It's the early mornings. It's the protein shake farts. It's all that, you know what I mean? And then walking 8 miles out, that's kind of reinventing yourself. And for a lot of people, and including myself, it's really daunting and overwhelming, because, our whole life we've been given a playbook, you know what I mean? We look at this playbook, we say, okay, cool. I do X, Y, and Z and I'll be successful. But, for the first time in our lives, usually like in our 20s or 30s, we have a blank playbook, you know what I mean? And so we have to write our own plays in there. And so for a lot of people, it's a little tough, because there's so much of what we, devoted to sports is what made us who we are. But the awesome thing about it is we gain so much life experience and so much value from sports that we can translate into other parts of our lives, right? Into whatever that next passion is, whatever that next job is, whatever the next career is, you know what I mean? There's a reason why a lot of parents like to put their children in sports at an early age, is because you develop a lot of those life skills that are not only transferable, but they carry on for the rest of your life. You know what I mean? How to work in a team, how to be a hard worker, how to be persistent, having a winning attitude, how to remain competitive, how to, managing your schedule, how to manage stress. Those are, intangible things that, you can't really learn like in a classroom. Those are things that, sports prepares you for, you know what I mean? And so those are things that I've had to like take a step back and think, okay, you know what? I've actually been doing a lot of work towards my sport, right? But a lot of these things that don't really take talent and don't really involve, dribbling a basketball or catching a football, I can take to the next part of my career. And that's something that I always try to impart on guys who are currently playing right now to prepare them for it, and guys who are also former players, you know what I mean? So I hope that answers your question. It's been a journey. It's going to continue to be a journey, not only for me, but for all the participants in here. The journey into sports is never ending, really. You know what I mean? Just how, how Cameron said, he gets a bunch of emails talking about people who are fans. We're probably going to be fans of sports for the rest of our lives, right? more so than that, what can we do with that, right? If you're really a fan, if you really want to have a solid place in the sports industry, what are you going to do, right? What steps are you going to take? How hard are you going to work? Because that, like I said before, that's what's going to separate the pretenders from the contenders.
Yeah, I think, Kate, thank you for asking that question, because it provided Randall for like the perfect prototypical answer for what this entire camp experience is all about. The sports are so powerful. People have such a deep passion for it that they want more than anything else to play for it, right? To be a professional athlete. And for so few people that happens. And even if you do make it, you can't do it for the rest of your life. It's a launching point for other opportunities. What we try to do with this camp is harness that passion for sports to help kids understand potential career paths and start that earlier. I'll let you guys on a little fact. We don't care if you go work in sports. We want you to have a career, and this is that first step. And we're helping you understand that you love sports and you can have a career. But for the students that have been here, if you go off an attorney, or you go off and get into politics, or if you run a restaurant, that's great. You've taken a step forward, and you've taken that step forward because you love this thing called sports. And to Randall's point, sports aren't about being a professional athlete. It's about people's passion and people's motivation and people's commitment to it. So we've simply used that as kind of the topic that we've all talked about. You guys did an amazing job on the panel, but it's not about that. It's about a satisfying career. It's about being able to take care of yourself. It's about being able to take care of your loved ones. And there's a considerable amount of ways to do that in sports, as demonstrated by this panel, but it's not the only way to go about it. So Kate, thank you for asking that question. And Randall, amazing answer, because it really congealed what our overarching message is, and which is why we're so proud of our students, is you guys all took a step forward in your career. Sports career or not, you all took a step forward in your career. And I can speak for myself at 15, 16, 17, I was not doing that. I was playing actual video games on a Sega Genesis or something like that, not talking to some ninja guy that's making $100 million playing video games. Come on. Unbelievable. So I just wanted to say thank you for everyone. Just an amazing job on the panel. Thanks to our campers. We had a really great level of engagement, the most questions we've had in any session. I think we had a really good discussion. I also appreciate you guys directly kind of addressing misnomers about being a sports agent and working in the industry. I think that was really respectful of you and also professional of you, and it shows all of our campers how to answer those questions. So thank you all so much. Kate, thank you very much. I hope we don't have to call you a female sports agent, just a sports agent. I agree. Rashida, thank you so much. Congratulations on the new agency, and best of luck with everything. Farren, keep dual pathing it, whatever you're doing. Be safe in the backyard at your aunt and uncle's house. Randall and Cameron, keep it up with Dynamic Sports Group. Really, really appreciate you guys making yourselves available and convening this amazing panel. A lot of good happened today for a lot of deserving students. So thank you very much.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you having us.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.